Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? It's such a delight to see you both again after quite a few months.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to be in safe hands, Maris, with Amy. I'm going to be in the background. I just wanted to say hi, and I know you'll be both great. And look, you're in for a real treat now, especially with regards to women's football. So, Amy, keep going. I think this is your
Thank
final one. So, it's
final
going to
one.
be great.
Thank you, Ed. Hello, Marios. It's so nice to have you join us. How are you feeling today?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful day here, weather-wise, here in New York. Of course,
Mhm.
very difficult times when all of us are doing our very best, not only for us and our loved ones to stay safe and healthy and in good spirits, but to help each other out, which is what we need to do right now.
Yeah, fantastic. Marius, please tell the viewers who you are and what you do.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. I am a partner at the sport and business firm of IBF, Intelligent Business Forces, based in Athens, Greece. I am an attorney, a public speaker, and a sports executive with over 20 years of experience in the sport, business, and legal fields. Head of communications for Valencia CF Academy, New York, here in New York
Mhm.
State. Also a adjunct professor at Mercy College, sport law and sports management. And finally, along with the CEO and of Intelligent Business Forces, a great friend and colleague, Aisilaos Toumazatos, formerly
Mhm.
of Deloitte and the ex-general manager of Panathinaikos FC.
Mhm.
I'm the co-founder and co-organizer of the Athens Women's Football Summit, which is where you and I last met in person.
Exactly. Fantastic, Marius. That's a brilliant introduction to who you are. I'm just going to say to the live audience, if you have any questions as usual, as I'm speaking to Marius, please feel free to leave a comment below and, we'll ask Marius the questions. But yeah, so Marius, just before we get into my most favorite thing, which I know you love to talk about, which is, women's sports and women's football in specific, I just want us to touch a bit on your career development in terms of, you've talked a bit of how you had a background in law, but you've transitioned to sport. That's been a huge theme today for us as we're speaking. A lot of questions coming in about transitioning from one career path to another. So I would just like you to highlight, if you don't mind, your journey to from transitioning into law and sport, any challenges, and how you overcame them as well.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I'm a former prosecutor in sex crimes and domestic violence. So obviously, in my case, I was serving the public. Fighting for girls and women was always something that is central to who I am. I Over time, I worked in intellectual property and other areas of law. Worked for government. Worked for corporate America. Obviously, private practice. I'm an entrepreneur. The transition was not difficult at all because women's football, which is my mission to grow women's football globally and to use the beautiful game to promote gender equality, inclusion, diversity, and promote positive social change. Well, women's football is serious business. So,
Mhm.
the lessons we learn throughout our lives, whether as educators, as lawyers, as entrepreneurs, as executives, it's very important to take all that and to be able to use that as a foundation for whatever we do next. Right? Everything we do today is a foundation for what we're going to do tomorrow, and the business of women's football is exciting, it's growing, it's powerful, and it
Mhm.
needs all those different skills and experiences over the years that I've come across. So the thing is that each one of us, men and women from all different fields, have something unique to bring to women's football or to whatever part of the sports industry that we
Mhm.
have. So it's no different than if I go to work in some other big industry. Football, women's football is a serious and exciting business with incredible economic and investment opportunities. And that is how we have to treat it. We have to treat it like the exciting and beautiful and serious business it is.
Fantastic, Marius. And just before, I ask you to talk a lot more actually about the Athens Women's Football Summit and that impact, I just want to ask about, you've just touched a bit on, general skills on the sports industry, but I want to ask you, aside from, the big career-wise, personally, that transition that we've just spoken about from law into sport, what is one skill that's really helped you develop yourself personally? And, if you don't mind sharing as well on the other side to the viewers, how can they use that skill in terms of developing themselves currently?
Well, especially in a time like this when there's so much uncertainty, there's so much change going on. It's an incredible opportunity for each of us to take the time, even though there are a lot of challenges right now. We're all
Mm-hmm.
focused on trying to deal with the day to day, to stay safe, to help our communities, to help people, to serve our industries. But this is also a very important time to put aside energy and time to learn and to focus not only on what is really important to us, but
Mm-hmm.
in terms of focusing on our own personal development. And to go to your question, being in women's football, one thing I always admire are the great players out there who, in very difficult circumstances, they show focus and they show confidence. So one thing I want to talk about is real quickly is how important it is to take this opportunity right now to
Mm-hmm.
focus on what is it in your the way that we all deal with our emotions right now. There's anxiety, there's worry, there's as I said, there's so many things that are not in our control right now. It's a great opportunity to focus on how do we deal with this? How do we deal
Mm-hmm.
with this? And it all comes down to confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
confidence is built primarily not only on all the experiences that we have and obviously all that we learn from that, but it's built with how we maturely and effectively manage emotions, right? So I'd like
Mm-hmm.
to, and the reason I bring this up is because the secret to success, the secret to confidence, is how we deal with the issue of our emotional maturity.
Mm-hmm.
How do we every day learn to deal better with our emotions so that when we're faced with a difficult decision, when we're
Mm-hmm.
faced with a new challenge, we are able to address it in a calm way, in a focused way, in a way that we're able to make sure that we're not overwhelmed by those emotions. So that because if you're going to take a penalty kick, and at that moment you're overwhelmed by your emotions, you won't be able to focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You common sense goes out the window, and we're not able to deal effectively and persuasively with that we're talking to. We can't communicate well. We're not under if we're not emotionally under control at that moment. So I would say that always it is understand upon to learn uh,
Mm-hmm.
how to better react to emotions when
Yeah.
when I'm faced with maybe people acting is not good, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is always I always work on something called emotional maturity. Right, we hear about emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence and other words like that in the press quite a bit nowadays. I
Mm-hmm.
always try to focus working with my coworkers, with professional footballers, others. The thing is to focus on your emotional maturity, and now is a
Mm-hmm.
great time of us to take a moment as we reevaluate our true values, what are true priorities, what are our goals, to also take a moment to go back and see how do I react to difficult situations, right? Do I
Mm-hmm.
react with self pity? Do I react with shame? Do I get, do I break out in a engage in habits or behaviors which undermine my ability to fully achieve my true potential? are there. This is a difficult and challenging time for a lot of people in society, whether they're players or other people in the industry, where there's worry, there's that in this anxiety and in this difficult time that people will resort to behaviors are unhealthy. So now is the time to step back, take a closer look at how we deal with our emotions.
Fantastic. I think that's great. And I love your points there, the questions to ask yourself and make sure you're actually, being emotionally mature. That's fantastic. Now, Marius, I'd love us to talk more about the Athens Women's Football Summit. As you mentioned, you're the co-founder of that initiative. Tell us more about it and the role that it plays towards development in sports.
The Athens Football Summit I'm very happy to say, is quickly becoming the global home for a UNIF within, and that is right now more important than anything. Then we'll get to in a moment. Women's football only an add the top stakeholders, the women's game in Athens every October, but it is a year-round event. It is an institution that works to unite the game, to bring all different stakeholders from all aspects of the industry, coaches, uh, uh, broadcasting, owners. It goes on and on, all different kinds of stakeholders, with the whole idea to bring together people who are who share a common goal, growing the women's game, the incredible values and feelings and
Oh, I think we just lost Marius for a second. Let's hope he just comes back on.
And but we can then that we create to get to who had the opportunity. Saying that right now the unique challenges that we are facing in the women's game are obviously is we've been working on for the last few weeks, as we see, as with all football teams and federations, players and coaches, everyone involved in the game is facing pressures that we never could have imagined just a few weeks ago.
Great. And in regards to the summit, actually the football summit and the current situation, the current global situation, I know you've mentioned that it's a year-long initiative, but we must acknowledge that one of the biggest parts of this is the time that we all come together. For us, it was last October in Athens, where I met you, Ed, and the rest of your fantastic team. So how is the current situation affecting that? What are your plans for this year? I think it's supposed to happen around the same time later this year. How is anything changing? How are you dealing with it?
Well, listen, obviously right now, more important than anything is the unity of the industry. More than ever, in light of these very serious challenges that we're all facing, we all know, first of all, that whenever there's a crisis, an economic crisis, a war, whatever it might be, a health crisis like we're dealing with right now, those that usually suffer the most are and take on one of the largest in our girls and women, right? So we know now uh, um, that women's football is facing unique challenges, and more important than ever before uh, during this time that we as an industry are united and that we come together, players, the player associations, the federations, FIFA Pro, the teams, the legions come together, keeping in mind that, as was recently said by Mr. Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, football will be very different after this crisis. Right? He mentioned that um, many will be different, and that he mentioned that it will be a more social game, that it will be a more supportive game, and that it will be a more human game that's more attentive to true values. Well, you're talking about women's football right there, aren't you? And the power, the unique qualities of women's football, and the ability to change worlds and to make lives better. Uh, the Athens Women's Football Summit is a unique opportunity for people to come together over 2 days and to really exchange, know each other, create new collaborations. Now, with everything being uncertain now, us not knowing what will happen with leagues, what will happen with other events, major tournaments have been pushed to next year. Obviously, what we're doing is continuing to work hard to build the relationships we need to learn from each other, to speak to all the different stakeholders, from players to coaches to the football club executives and owners. Right, we're continuing to move forward at this time, keeping in mind that people are focused on many different things right now, with health and safety paramount. Our plan is to go forward, obviously, if if things hopefully are better for the world, to host the Athens Women's Football Summit live and have an incredible event, such as the inaugural event that you attended last October. But we also have in mind that on October 15th and 16th, we can't know what these things will be. There's always the option to move forward with our strategic partners and our speakers and our guests in an electronic digital format. So the thing is that it remains to be seen exactly what will be the way that we're going to deliver the summit in October. But one way or another, it's going forward, and we've already brought together amazing strategic partners, great speakers. Amy, you and Ed will be involved also. And we call on everybody to feel free to reach out to us. We're a global institution working to grow the women's game right now, to serve it, to protect it, to help it transition through the changes that are happening now and that will come. And we welcome everyone to join us. If you can in Athens, that's great. It will be live streamed no matter what. And before, we want to hear from people who love the game, who are passionate about women's football, who are passionate about its value, and who can collaborate with us and with our colleagues as we to grow the beautiful game, to bring and use it to empower, and to use it to people.
Fantastic. Now, Marius, as you can see, this question just popped up, which you partially answered. That's a funny thing. I was reading the question as you were speaking, and you partially answered it. And I would actually like to make a comment right before I let you go on with the question, which is the fact that, Tijana is asking, how can she really contribute in relation to development of the women's football rather than to just be a member who can just attend conferences. So I just want to say on this because I don't think I mentioned how I got involved in the Athens Women's Football Summit last year, which is this question popped up in my mind. I really was at a point towards the end of last year where, I just wanted to get more involved in women's sports and do a bit more. So, for me, what happened is I actually saw about the summit on LinkedIn and I wrote to Marius and actually asked, can I get involved? Is it possible to speak? One thing I had identified is there were no African speakers at the time that I was joining in. So I said, hey, can I bring in this different perspective? So I just wanted to share that as a little bit. Obviously you'd like to know, beyond conferences, but this is just one. It's not simply attending, because I was actually attending conferences before simply attending, but Athens was the first time that I switched that role and offered something else. Despite just attending, I was now speaking and, in a sense, contributing. So that's one way for me, Tijana, that I've switched it and gotten involved a bit more, because I understand your question. But I'll leave it to you, Marius. Aside from just women attending conferences, how can they actually contribute to women's football?
Okay, well, the thing is that each of us this is a global movement. Okay, if football contributes to be one of the greatest human social phenomena, women's football is a movement within. And the thing is that as a game that's involved in growth on the grassroots level and the professional level, new investment has come in. Great companies have gotten involved, like Visa and Barclays and Budweiser. All these different companies are coming in to support the women's game. The way that everyone has something that they can contribute to our effort. Okay, important is bring together dedicated to the game, who are committed to the values that the game promotes, such as gender equality and inclusion. I would say that we are welcome to people reaching out to us. Myself and my colleagues would talk to them to see how can, to learn about what are they doing. What is their involvement? Already, we have people from around the world with girls and women who are migrants or refugees. We have people working in grassroots. Professional teams are approaching us. We're involved in all aspects of the women's game. And so what I would suggest is we're building an international family here. We're building a group of people who want to work together, who want to find ways to bring investment to the game, contribute their unique abilities and experiences and connections to growing the game. Thing is that I would suggest that, first of all, that they reach out to us, because we need to think out of the box. This is, especially now in this uncertain times, we need to bring together all the right people and truly unite the women's game, and be vocal about about how important it is to people, how important it is to our not only to our group, everyone's society, and how right now the women's game should not be in any way considered a secondary priority, or be in some way put aside because of what's going on. We need to be united in our advocacy right now. We need to be united in our voice that lets all the stakeholders know that women's football is important to us. It's important to society, and that it needs to be given it deserves during this crisis and after. So I welcome everyone who has a passion for the women's game, who cares for this incredible and beautiful and powerful business and sport that is women's football, to reach out to us, and we will continue to build those connections, and that will allow us to do our very best to serve women's football.
Fantastic, Marius. Just on that, how can they actually reach out to you if they'd like to ask more questions or get involved? Social media, email, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Certainly, we're very active on Twitter, so definitely follow us there. We're also on Instagram. Those are very good ways to reach out to us. But we can be easily reached at the main website, www.athenswf.com. Certainly happy to give out my email, of course, through LinkedIn. And also, I'm very pleased to connect. This is definitely an avenue, though. Do leave me a note as I get when you do connect with me on LinkedIn, because I get a lot of communication. My colleague also, he is available through our social media and his own. Those are good first steps, and obviously through you and Ed, that is obviously a great combination. Together, there's a lot we can do, and Women's Football Summit is honored to have the opportunity to have an important role in unifying game and to helping all together to help lead it toward deeper waters during this very uncertain. That said, women's football has unbelievable potential. After this storm, women's football will be football. There will be sports, and the point is to position the game and position all the people who are involved in it in a way that they can best serve it and they can help it continue to take advantage of it, the incredible momentum it has into what it's to be, which is beautiful and powerful and serious business, which brings great joy and so many benefits to everyone involved.
Definitely. We've just seen that amazing message from Tijana. That's fantastic to know that, we've clarified what she asked for, and, she's definitely appreciated your advice. Now, to the live audience, if you're like her, you resonate with what Marius has said, you really enjoyed this session, please leave your biggest takeaway here on Facebook by just making a comment. You can also go over to Twitter, interact with the Athens Women's Football Summit page, and generally our campaign for the day, which is the hashtag Spirit of Sport. So thank you so much for being here, Marius. It's been lovely to have you on, lovely to speak to you, and I hope you're going to get a lot more interaction from the viewers in terms of the Athens Women's Football Summit.
Listen, thank you very much again to you and Ed and your colleagues for this opportunity. Again, the message here is that united, we with a strong with a platform, we can do so much to not only grow the women's game and protect it during these difficult times, but to use it to do so much good for society. Women's football is something we need, something that's powerful and beautiful. And it is important that right now, with a united voice, we help each other, we work together, and we, with optimism and confidence, we move forward to the future all together.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Marius. Have a lovely evening.